Lord, today I come before you with an open heart. I ask you to change my focus. I no longer want to be consumed by what I can receive. Instead, I want to be filled with a desire to serve you. Shift my heart, Lord, so that I seek not just blessings, but the privilege of being used by you. Many of us come to God with prayers for more success, more security, more provision. We ask for breakthroughs and we long for abundance. But what if the greatest blessing is not in what we receive, but in what we give? What if the true joy of life is not about gathering, but about pouring out? If you are watching this right now, it is not by chance. God has led you here because He wants to shift something inside you. He wants to take you from a place of constantly reaching for more to a place of surrendering yourself completely to His will. He wants you to experience a joy deeper than temporary blessings, a joy that comes from serving Him with all your heart. Have you ever noticed that no matter how much you receive, there is always a longing for more? You pray for a breakthrough, and when it comes, you enjoy it for a while, but soon after, another desire rises. The cycle never ends. That's because our hearts were not created to be satisfied by things. We were created to be satisfied by God Himself. And the greatest way to experience His presence is to serve Him with love, humility, and devotion. This message is for you. God is calling you higher. He is calling you to a life where your focus is no longer on what you can get, but on how you can serve. And as you step into this calling, you will find that everything you have been searching for, peace, joy, fulfillment, is already waiting for you. Why does this shift from receiving to serving matter so much? Because a heart focused only on receiving will never be at peace. It will always hunger for more, always feel restless, and always feel that something is missing. It is a cycle that keeps people chasing happiness but never truly finding it. Imagine carrying an empty cup everywhere you go, waiting for someone to fill it. Every time you receive something, money, love, success, it feels good for a moment. But soon, the cup is empty again. You need more. You keep searching, but no matter how much you collect, it never lasts. Now imagine if instead of holding an empty cup, you had a flowing fountain within you, a source that never runs dry. This is what happens when your heart shifts from receiving to serving. You stop waiting for others to pour into you, and instead God fills you so that you can pour into others. And in giving, you receive more than you ever imagined. Jesus Himself taught this. He said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." Acts 20:35. Why? Because when you give, you align with the heart of God. You become part of His plan. You experience the joy of being used by Him. And as you give, He gives back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. If you live only to receive, your world is small. Your joy depends on what others do for you. But when you live to serve, your world expands. Your heart is filled with purpose. Your spirit is lifted because you know you are walking in God's will. You begin to see life differently, not as a series of things you need, but as an opportunity to bless and be blessed. And here is the greatest truth. When you focus on serving, you never lack. The world may tell you that giving means losing, but God's kingdom works differently. The more you pour out, the more He pours into you. The more you surrender, the more He provides. The more you serve, the more you grow. So today, God is asking, will you trust me enough to let go? Will you stop chasing after temporary things and allow me to fill you in a way that never runs dry? Will you let go of the idea that happiness comes from receiving and instead discover the unshakable joy that comes from serving? The greatest example of a servant's heart is Jesus Himself. He, who had all power, chose to serve instead of being served. He could have come as a mighty king, demanding loyalty and honor, but instead, He came as a humble servant, washing the feet of his disciples, feeding the hungry, and giving his life for the world. If Jesus, the Son of God, found joy in serving, then how much more should we? When we serve, we reflect his love to the world. We show others what it means to walk in true faith. We bring light into darkness, hope into despair, and healing into broken places. Serving is not about being noticed. It is not about earning God's favor or trying to prove our worth. It is about surrender. It is about saying, "Lord, use me however you choose." It is about opening our hands and saying, "Not my will, but yours be done." A servant's heart does not wait for a big stage or a grand opportunity. It looks for small ways to love. A kind word, a helping hand, a prayer for a stranger. These are the acts of a true servant. They may seem small, but in God's eyes, they are powerful. And here is the beautiful part. When you serve others, you serve God himself. Jesus said, "Whatever you do for the least of these, you do for me." Matthew 25:40. When you care for someone in need, when you lift someone who is struggling, when you love without expecting anything in return, you are honoring God in the most powerful way. A servant's heart is not about loss. It is about gain. It is about gaining a deeper relationship with God. It is about gaining a peace that cannot be shaken. It is about gaining the kind of joy that money, success, and possessions can never provide. So today, ask yourself, how can I serve? Who can I help? Where can I give? Because the moment you step into a life of service, everything changes. The weight of self-centered desires falls away. The stress of chasing after more disappears. And in its place, a deep, lasting joy fills your heart. The kind of joy that only comes when you walk in the footsteps of Jesus. There is a kind of joy that cannot be found in receiving. It can only be found in giving. The world teaches us that happiness comes when we collect more, when we reach the top, when we finally get everything we desire. But God's truth is different. True joy comes not from taking, but from giving. Think about a time when you helped someone who truly needed it. Maybe you gave money to someone struggling, encouraged a friend who was down, or simply listened when someone needed to talk. How did it feel? That warm, unexplainable feeling inside. That's the joy of giving. That's the joy of serving. Jesus told us, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." Luke 6:38. This means that when we give, God doesn't just replace what we gave, He multiplies it. He pours blessings into our lives in ways we never expected. But here's the secret. When you give out of love, you don't even think about what you will receive in return. You are so filled with joy that giving itself becomes the reward. The smile on someone's face, the gratitude in their voice, the peace that fills your own heart. These are greater than any material blessing. Many people spend their whole lives chasing happiness, but happiness is not something we chase. It is something we create. And the quickest way to create joy is to serve. The more you give, the more your heart expands. The more you love, the lighter your spirit becomes. Have you ever met someone who is truly generous, not just with money, but with their time, their kindness, their love? They are always smiling, always full of peace. They don't live in fear of losing because they know that God is their provider. They don't hold on to things tightly because they understand that everything they have is a gift from Him. This is the kind of joy God wants for you. A joy that is not dependent on what you have, but on what you give. A joy that is not easily shaken by circumstances because it is rooted in something deeper, God's love working through you. So today, ask yourself, what can I give? Who can I bless? How can I bring joy to someone else? Because when you live a life of giving, you will never run out of joy. God will keep filling you up so that you can keep pouring out. There is a divine principle that governs the way God's blessings flow. Those who serve are the ones who are continually blessed. God does not pour into those who only want to keep everything for themselves. He pours into those who are willing to share, to love, and to serve others. Imagine a water pipe. If it is blocked at one end, no water can flow through. But if it is open, the water runs freely. In the same way, when we hold on to everything for ourselves, we block the flow of God's blessings. But when we open our hearts and give, the blessings never stop coming. This is why some people, no matter how much they have, always feel empty. They try to collect and store up blessings, but they do not let them flow. They think happiness comes from having more, but they are missing the point. God's blessings were never meant to be hoarded. They were meant to be shared. Think about the story of the widow in 1 Kings 17. She had only a handful of flour and a little oil left, just enough to make one last meal for herself and her son before they died of hunger. But then the prophet Elijah asked her to make him a small loaf first. It was a test of faith. She had almost nothing left, yet she gave. And because she gave, God performed a miracle. Her flour and oil never ran out. This is the mystery of God's provision. When you give, He multiplies. When you serve, He supplies. When you pour out, He fills you up again and again. Many people live in fear of lack. They think, if I give too much, I won't have enough for myself. But in God's kingdom, the opposite is true. The more you give, the more you receive. The more you bless others, the more you are blessed. So, don't be afraid to serve. Don't be afraid to give your time, your energy, your love. Because when you serve, you are not just helping others. You are making room for God to pour even greater blessings into your life. Many people think of worship as singing songs in church, praying, or reading the Bible, but worship is much more than that. Worship is how we live, and one of the greatest forms of worship is serving others. When you serve, you are saying to God, I trust you. I put your will above my own. You are showing Him that your love is not just words, it is action. Jesus said in Matthew 25:40, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. When you serve, you are serving Christ Himself. When you help someone in need, when you encourage someone who is hurting, when you give without expecting anything in return, you are worshiping God with your life. Think about the way Jesus lived. He spent His time healing the sick, feeding the hungry, comforting the brokenhearted. He didn't seek power, fame, or fortune. He lived to serve. And in doing so, He showed us what true worship looks like. Too often, people wait for big opportunities to serve. They think, one day, I will do something great for God. But service starts now. It starts in small, everyday actions. A kind word, a helping hand, a heart that is willing. Maybe you feel like you don't have much to offer. Maybe you think, I'm not talented enough, I don't have enough money, I don't have the time. But serving isn't about having a lot. It's about being willing to give what you have. Remember the boy in John 6 who had only 5 loaves and 2 fish? In human terms, it wasn't enough to feed a crowd. But when he gave what little he had, Jesus performed a miracle. He multiplied the food and fed over 5,000 people. That's what happens when we serve. We may feel small, but God takes what we offer and does something greater than we can imagine. Serving is not a burden. It is not something we do out of obligation. It is a joy. It is an act of love. It is worship. So today, ask yourself, how can I serve? Who can I help? What small act of kindness can I do today? Because when you serve, you are worshiping God in the most powerful way. And as you give, He will pour back into your life in ways you never expected. Every day we are tempted by the idea that life is about taking for ourselves. We grow up believing that more is always better, that accumulating wealth, recognition, and comfort is the only way to feel secure. Yet deep inside, there is a longing for something more meaningful, a desire to experience true peace and joy that cannot come from holding on too tightly. In this moment, we are invited to let go of those selfish desires that have weighed us down for so long, to release the urge to keep everything for ourselves and instead open our hearts to the beautiful possibility of serving others. Letting go is not an easy task. It means facing the part of us that believes we are incomplete without all the things we cling to. It calls for humility and courage, the courage to say, I no longer need to hold on to what I think will make me happy. When we surrender these desires, we make space for God's love to fill us completely. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with all your worries, fears, and the need for more. With every item you release, your load becomes lighter. In the same way, when you let go of selfishness, you create room for God's abundant blessings to flow through you. This journey of releasing selfish desires begins with small, deliberate steps. It starts by recognizing the moments when you are driven by personal gain rather than genuine care for others. It might be as simple as choosing to share a meal with someone in need instead of dining alone, or offering a kind word without expecting anything in return. Each act of letting go builds your spirit, enabling you to experience life with a new sense of freedom and purpose. As you practice letting go, you begin to see that what you release is replaced by a deeper satisfaction. Satisfaction that comes not from possessing more, but from loving more. The world may celebrate those who accumulate wealth and power, but God celebrates those who give freely and serve wholeheartedly. When you choose to live beyond your own needs, you become a beacon of hope, inspiring others to follow a path of generosity and selflessness. Let your heart be light, and let it soar with the joy that comes from unburdening yourself. Surrender the grip on selfish desires and trust that God will provide exactly what you need. With every step you take towards service, you move closer to a life filled with peace, love, and a connection to the divine that no earthly possession can ever match. Trusting God is at the very core of stepping into a life of service. When you let go of the need to control every aspect of your life, you open yourself to the gentle guidance of the Creator. Trust is not just a word, it is a way of living. It is the belief that even when you take risks by giving your all to others, God's provision will never fail you. In our daily lives, there are moments of uncertainty. We worry about our next meal, our financial security, and our future. But when you choose to serve, you must also choose to trust that God will meet every need. This trust transforms anxiety into assurance. Instead of fretting over what might be lacking, you can focus on the opportunities to help and love those around you. When you place your faith in God, you find that the more you give, the more He takes care of you. Consider the story of those who stepped out in faith even when the outcome was unclear. They did not have all the answers, but they trusted that their willingness to serve would lead to miracles. With each act of service, a piece of the worry is replaced by the warm certainty of God's love. His promise is clear. If you let go and allow Him to work through you, your needs will be met in ways that exceed your expectations. Trusting God also means understanding that His timing is perfect. There are times when blessings might seem delayed, and yet, in His perfect plan, everything unfolds exactly as it should. Your journey in service is marked by these moments of divine orchestration, where what you give is multiplied and returned to you in ways that only God can provide. Even when you face challenges or setbacks, remember that each obstacle is a stepping stone towards greater trust and deeper faith. When you serve, you demonstrate your belief that God's plan for you is far bigger than any personal ambition. You show that you are willing to surrender your own plans and follow the path that leads to the fulfillment of His promises. And as you walk that path, you will discover that your life becomes a living testament to the power of trust. Your every act of service is met with unseen blessings, doors opening, hearts healing, and miracles unfolding right before your eyes. A heart fully devoted to God's purpose is one that beats in rhythm with His will. It is a heart that seeks to honor Him in every action, every word, and every decision. When you allow your heart to be guided by God, you tap into a source of strength and wisdom that is far greater than anything you could muster on your own. This devotion is not about perfection, but about a sincere commitment to live in a way that reflects His love and purpose. Devotion to God means making time for prayer, reflection, and meditation on His Word. It means constantly asking for guidance and being open to the lessons He teaches through everyday moments. When you are truly devoted, you begin to see that every challenge is an opportunity to grow closer to Him, and every blessing is a reminder of His unending grace. This constant awareness of God's presence transforms how you see the world. Your priorities shift from personal gain to the joy of fulfilling a higher calling. Living with a heart devoted to God also means recognizing that you have unique gifts and talents meant for serving others. Whether it is a gentle word of encouragement, a creative idea, or a simple smile, each of these is a tool that God has given you to bring light into the lives of others. When you use these gifts, you become an instrument of His love, showing the world that true fulfillment comes from aligning your life with His purpose. In this journey of devotion, you will find that your relationships deepen, your challenges become opportunities for growth, and your everyday actions are infused with a sense of meaning that goes beyond the ordinary. Your life becomes a canvas painted with acts of kindness, compassion, and service. And as you continue to live out God's purpose, you inspire others to do the same. A devoted heart is not immune to pain or hardship. There will be moments when doubts creep in and obstacles seem insurmountable. Yet, in those times, remember that you are not alone. God's presence is constant, and His love never fails. Every trial you face is met with His unwavering support, and every step you take in service is a step towards a richer, more purposeful life. When your heart is fully devoted to God, you begin to understand that true wealth is not measured by what you have, but by how much you give. Your life becomes a living prayer, a continuous act of worship that speaks louder than words. And in that sacred exchange, you find a joy that is deep, enduring, and transformative. Lord, as I come to the end of this message, I ask you to hear my prayer with a heart full of hope and a spirit ready to serve. I thank you for showing me that the path to true happiness is not paved with the things I keep for myself, but with the love and generosity I extend to others. I pray that you help me release every selfish desire that holds me back from fully embracing your will for my life. I surrender my worries and fears, trusting in your promise that you will provide all that I need. Let me walk confidently in the light of your guidance, knowing that every act of service is a step closer to the abundant life you have planned for me. Fill me with the courage to share my blessings freely, and the wisdom to see that each small act of kindness is a reflection of your boundless love. Help me to remember that the joy of giving is far greater than the fleeting pleasure of receiving. May my heart always be open to the needs of others, and may my hands be willing to lift up those who are struggling. Let me serve without hesitation, trusting that in my surrender, you are working a miracle that transforms not only my life, but also the lives of everyone I touch. I pray for a deep and abiding trust in your perfect timing. Even when the future seems uncertain and the challenges appear daunting, let me hold on to the truth that you are always with me. May my faith be the anchor that steadies me through every storm, and may my life be a living testimony to the power of your provision. Lord, as I continue on this journey of transformation, let my heart be fully devoted to your purpose. Guide me to recognize the unique gifts you have given me and to use them for the betterment of others. Remind me every day that I am not here to simply receive, but to be a blessing, a channel of your love and compassion in a world that so desperately needs it. In this sacred moment, I offer you my deepest gratitude. Thank you for the countless blessings you have already bestowed upon me and for the promise of even greater wonders to come. I commit to walking this path with an open heart, eager to serve and ready to embrace the fullness of life that comes from living in your light. May this prayer for transformation be a daily reminder that true fulfillment is found in giving, and that by shifting my focus from receiving to serving, I am not only following your will, but also finding the joy, peace, and purpose that I have always longed for. Amen.